Hello students, chapter 2, the Russian Revolution. This is a video number 6. Now see the page number 30, the Russian Revolution. The Russian Revolution, see the book. In one of the least industrialized of European states, this situation was reversed. What is the meaning of this first line? Means industrialization as well as industries were come up in European states more in number than in the Russia. Socialists took over the government in Russia through the October Revolution in 1917. But the Socialist Party of Russia was the prominent one, and it took over the power in 1917. That is called October Revolution or Russian Revolution. The fall of monarchy in February 1917 and the events of October are normally called the Russian Revolution. These two incidents, October Revolution as well as February 1917 event, together we know by the name the Russian Revolution. How did this come about? What were the social and political conditions in Russia when the revolution occurred? To answer these questions, let us look at Russia a few years before the revolution. Now we see the Russia as a country before 1917. 2.1 The Russian Empire in 1914, before the revolution. In 1914, Tsar Nicholas II ruled Russia and its empire. Besides the territory around Moscow, the Russian Empire included current-day Finland, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, parts of Poland, Ukraine and Belarus. It is stretched to the Pacific and comprised today's Central Asian states as well as Georgia, Armenia and Azerbaijan. The majority religion was Russian Orthodox Christianity, which had grown out of the Greek Orthodox Church, but the empire also included Catholic, Protestants, Muslims and some Buddhists. Look, this is a picture of Tsar Nicholas II in the White Hall of the Winter Palace, St. Petersburg, 1900. Look, the position of the Russian Empire. It is a northern eastern part of the Europe. These are the states. The United Kingdom is here, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Holland, Belgium, France, Spain, Portuguese, Switzerland, Germany, and Romania, Bulgaria, Siberia. This is a Black Sea, Ottoman Empire in the southern part of Russia, Greece, and it is Italy. So this is the position of the different states in 1914. The map shows the Russian Empire and the European countries at war during the First World War. This is a map of 1914. Now see the next page, the economy and the society of Russia. At the beginning of the 20th century, the vast majority of Russian people were agriculturists. Like India. About 85% of the Russian Empire's population earned their living from agriculture. 85% populations were farmers. This proportion was higher than in the most European countries. As compared to the other countries of the Europe, this is the highest percentage of the population engaged themselves in agricultural activities. For instance, in France and Germany, the proportion was between 40% and 50%. Almost half the population were engaged in the agricultural activities. In the empire, Cultivators produced for the market as well as for their own needs, and Russia was a major exporter of grains. So population was 85% engaged in the agriculture. So the Russia is the exporter of the grain. Industry was found in pockets. Industries were there, but in the small pockets. Prominent industrial areas were near the St. Petersburg, means western part of the Russia, and the Moscow. Craftsmen undertook much of the production, but the large factories existed alongside the craft and workshops. So factories were engaged and existed along the craft as workshops. Many factories were set up in 1890s, means the last decade of the 19th century, when Russia's railway network was extended and foreigner investment in the industry increased. At that time, the government were engaged in the railway extensions, network was extended, as well as the foreign investments in the industry increased, means foreign peoples were also engaged in the factory activities. Coal production doubled and iron and steel output quadrupled, means there are the 4 times the production of the coal as well as the iron work and the steel work. By the 1900, in some areas, factories workers and craftsmen were almost equal in number. So people were increased and they got employment in the coal production, minings, iron works and steel works. Most industry was the private property of industrialists, means people were private owners and they dominated the factories or industries. Government supervised large factories to ensure minimum wages. Governments were in the role of as a supervisor, and government ensures the minimum wage and limited hours of work. But factory inspectors could not prevent rules being broken, but the rules were broken, and in craft units and small workshops, the working day was sometimes 15 hours compared with 10 to 12 hours in factories. So in the small activities like craft activities, people were engaged themselves and worked for 15 hours or 16 hours, whereas in the factories the people were working 10 to 12 hours. Accommodation varied from rooms to dormitories. People who were engaged and work in these factories, they lived in rooms or dormitories. Like look here, the unemployment peasants in the pre-war in St. Petersburg, many survived by eating at charitable kitchens and living in poor houses. Look, the people are eating in the charitable kitchen. Look, the condition of the workers sleeping in the bunkers in a dormitory in pre-revolutionary Russia. They slept in shifts and could not keep their families with them. They live and sleep in the dormitories. Now look in the text. Workers were divided in social groups. These workers were also divided into social differences. Some had large links with the villages, had strong links with villages, means people they came in city but they had a link with the village people or village family from which they came. Others had settled in cities permanently. Workers were divided by skills. The workers were there and they were also segregated on the basis of their skills and what they did. Metal workers of St. Petersburg recalled, metal workers considered themselves aristocrats amongst other workers, super workers. Their occupations demanded more training and skill. Women made up to 31% of the factory labor force by 1940, but they were paid less than men, between half and 3/4 of men's wages. Means they were getting half or sometimes less than half payment as compared to the main co-worker. Man co-worker were getting more payments. Divisions among workers showed themselves in dress and manners too. Some workers formed associations to help members in times of unemployment or financial hardship, but such associations were few. People were grouped together in the groups, but the number of these associations were less in number. Despite divisions, workers did unite to strike work. Sometimes the workers did unite, they come together and they went or go for strike work, stop work. When they disagreed with employers about dismissals or work conditions, these strikes took place frequently in the textile industry during 1896 to 1897 and in the metal industry during 1902. So these strikes was also came up in the Russia against the employer due to poor condition, low wages, or sometimes for their own rights. And these textile industries and metal industries laborers were prominent in the strike work. In the countryside, peasants cultivated most of the land, but the nobility, the crown, the Orthodox Church owned large properties. Peasants were there, but the land belongs to the crown, or Orthodox Christians, or rich people. Like workers, peasants too were divided. Like workers were divided into different groups on the basis of their skills, so peasants were also divided. They were also deeply religious. People were deeply religious, but except in a few cases, they had no respect for the nobility. These people were religious, but they not respect their nobility because they knew the nobilities were corrupt and not, as a humanitarian point of view, they were not a good man. So they were against the nobilities. Nobles got their power and position through their services to the Tsar. Because they got the services, they were in the power because on the will of Tsar, the king, not through the local popularity. This was unlike France, where during the French Revolution in Brittany, peasants respected nobles and fought for them. The conditions of France were different. People fought for their nobilities, but in Russia the condition was just opposite. In Russia, peasants wanted the land of the nobles to be given to them. They wanted their land back. They don't want the supervision or control of nobility on the agricultural land. Frequently, they refused to pay rent and even murdered landlords. Sometimes they also violent and killed their landlords. In 1902, this occurred on a large scale in South Russia. This murdered their landlords. That was common place or large scale in the South Russia. And in 1905, such incidents took place all over Russia. Means people, the poor people or the farmers or agriculturists killed their landlords. Russian peasants were different from other European peasants in another way. They pooled their land together periodically, and their commune divided it according to the need of the individual families. Means they divided their land, farmers were divided their land periodically, time to time or period to period, and there were the commune or the group. They divided it according to the needs of the individual families. Means family is large, so they get the large area for the agriculture, large land for the agriculture, or time to time they changed it. So in this video we covered up to 2.2, means we cover here the economy and the society of Russia, as well as we also understood the position of Russia in 1940, means in Second World War, the position of Russia as well as the different states' relations with Russia. In next video, we will see the next topic, the socialism in Russia. Thank you.